Hey, this is Fable, and this is my demonstration of animating in Photoshop. You can see initially I'm just tested a few brushes. And here you can see that I am creating new layers for every keyframe. Now, a keyframe is a strong basic pose, which you will eventually create animated in-betweens between, but on this piece I'm pretty much just creating keyframes. There's not a whole lot of in-betweens, which you'll see later. Now, you will also notice that all I'm really doing is creating a drawing for every new frame. So I create a frame, and I will lower the opacity of the frames beneath so that I can see the frames on top fairly well. The frame that is immediately before what I'm drawing will have a slightly stronger opacity, but other than that, I am not adjusting the timeline right now. Now, if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you can notice that this is in the video timeline feature in Photoshop, and it is best to work in this manner. Don't use frame by frame, please use the video timeline, and most versions of Creative Suite Photoshop should have this if they're the extended edition at least. So here, alright, now I'm starting to break these down into individual frames. I made each initially 2 frames long. This is running at 24 frames per second. And also occasionally I'll be fixing the drawing, see if I'm like, this isn't working out. And I keep playing it back to see how it looks. And go, I need to adjust some things. Here I decided that the hips need a little bit more bounce. So I would duplicate a frame and then just animate the hips, not even the front of the body, just the hips. Just so that that had more animation happening to it initially. Keep playing it back, keep making adjustments, keep tweaking your drawing. You'll also notice that there's some of the frames are different colors, and this is just because when I was making the initial keyframes I needed the animation to stand out. I need to see the animation a little bit better. Here I'm generating some in-betweens now. Now, in-betweens are frames between your keyframes. Keyframes being the strong pose, in-betweens are like frames that exist to transition between those strong poses. They help smooth out the animation so that it looks more fluid and plays out a little bit better. Now you want to be aware when you're doing in-betweens that the timing is extremely important when you're animating. Do not just do an in-between that is just a straight drawing between 2 other drawings. You have to think about timing, think about like a bouncing ball or arcing pendulum, where the ball will slow at the top of its motion, and then when it hits the ground it also slows down a bit, but it's between the high state and the low state that there are actually fewer quote-unquote frames between those. Now, done. You can also see here that I am animating sometimes just body parts and not even the rest of the body. Like a paw will move, the tail will move, but other things will not move, and this is also to create contrast in motion. So sometimes you don't want the whole body moving, you just want a piece of it, and this is both because it's more efficient, like it won't take you as long to animate things if you're just moving like a little body part in order to give some energy to a still pose, or also just like you don't want to have a whole body wiggling, because living things don't have their whole body moving constantly. They'll usually freeze a body part. So, alright, here I threw all the frames into a folder and threw on a color overlay so that they're all one unified color and not looking at this thing flashing between red, black, and blue. Play it back, flipped it, making sure that the drawing looked alright, and now here I'm generating a grass layer because I wanted him to interact with something. And very easy to animate it, just drew it, split the clip, used scale, skewed it. Very, very simple. So now it looks like he's like pushing that grass back and forth. Here I'm drawing the background so that it looks like he's walking on something. It was a very basic painting, extremely basic. So I didn't want to get too complicated because when you're exporting GIFs, it doesn't like a whole lot of colors. In fact, if I were making like an icon or something where you really need to be very cautious about how much data is contained within each clip. I'm going to be cautious about that. And anyway, so this is the lighting. I threw a mask on each layer of the lighting, and I just kind of erased away via masking layers the light to create a shadow. Pretty simple, just, you know, pick a direction the light's coming from, draw a shadow. This is extremely rough and messy work. It's not very professional quality, but it is just for fun, so threw on a couple of effects because I didn't like the color, and I turned the color of the lines layer also so that it would stand out a little bit more. And this is just some light motes because I wanted the background to have a little bit of animation in it, something very, very subtle. Alright, and here's the finished product. Yep, you can see how the layers are interacting together, and I'm pretty much happy with how this turned out, as rough it is and as quick as I did it. Yep, I hope you learned something. Bye.